G'day. When someone says traditionally Australian, what comes to mind? Men wearing singlets, shorts and thongs, having a barbecue and drinking beer? Soldiers fighting and dying at Gallipoli? People playing cricket in their backyards? Or just words like mateship and loyalty? Whatever comes to mind, it's most likely going to be a stereotype. I mean, I've lived in Australia for 14 years and I only know one person who actually says g'day. But just because something is a stereotype, it doesn't mean it's a complete lie. It must have come from somewhere, right? Traditional Australian identity, as represented in most texts about Australia, is quite outback orientated. People think of Aussies as living in the outback, and I think the characters in this poem fit traditional representation of Australian identity. It's called The Swagman. Oh, he was old, he was spare, his bushy whiskers and his hair were all fussed up and very grey. He said he'd come a long, long way, and had a long, long way to go. Each boot was broken at the toe, and he'd a swag upon his back. His billy can, as black, was just a thing for making tea at picnics, so it seemed to me. 'Twas hard to earn a bit of bread, he told me, then he shook his head, and all the little corks that hung around his hat brim danced and swung, and bobbed about his face, and when I laughed he made them dance again. He said they were for keeping flies, the pesky varmints, from his eyes. He called me codger. Now you see, the best days of your life, said he. But days will come to bend your back, and when they come, keep off the track. Keep off, young codger, if you can. He seemed a funny sort of man. He told me that he went to work, but jobs were scarce this side of Bourke. He wanted work, but jobs were scarce this side of Bourke, and he supposed he'd have to go another 50 miles or so. Now all my life I've walked the track I've walked, he said. I liked the way he talked. And oh, the places he had seen, I don't know where he had not been. On every road in every town, all through the country, up and down. Young codger, shun the track, he said, and put his hand upon my head. I noticed then that his old eyes were very blue and very wise. I was a little lad, he said, and seemed grow very sad. I sometimes think, when I'm a man, I'll get a good black billy can, and hang some corks around my hat, and lead a jolly life like that. Apparently our animals have some of the same Aussie spirit of mateship that our owners possess. If you haven't watched Red Dog, spoiler alert. In the movie Red Dog, a dog whose master has died goes looking for him all over Australia. Red Dog doesn't give up until he finally realizes that his master is dead, and even then he goes back to his master's fiancée. The dog remains loyal to his master his whole life, eventually dying by his grave. This is in keeping with the traditional representation of Australians as very loyal to their mates. The song I Am Australian describes Australia with lines such as the Dreamtime, dusty red soil plains, and it tells Australia's history in verses like, I came upon the iron ships, bound down by iron chains. I fought the land, endured the lash, and waited for the rains. The song also refers to the people of Australia in lines such as, I'm a daughter of a digger, I'm a bushy, I'm a battler, and a convict and a free man. It describes Australia's identity as a very new country, with its people only just ceasing to be English and beginning to be Australian. I believe that the stereotypical representation of Australia comes from the fact that when Australia was a very young country, people did live like that, in cabins they made themselves, bottling the land to grow enough crops to stay alive, playing cricket in their backyards for entertainment. And only the most hard-working people would have survived, because Australia was a tough land to live in, especially for those people who were used to the cooler, wetter climate of England. Meanwhile, while that particular representation of Australia is no longer true, we were once like that. So, as I said from the beginning, the Australian stereotype does come from the truth, not just from fictitious accounts of the land down under. I think that the present and the future, what will Australia's identity become? I think that present representations of Australia are not correct. Well, actually, they're missing something. They don't include people who live in the city or the suburbs, the ordinary people who live their lives without saying g'day mate or fighting for their country. I think we need to absorb new, different ideas about qualities we as Australians have. We should keep some parts of the old Aussie representation, but we need to introduce new ideas and define ourselves in new ways, such as open-minded, as an open-minded creative country with out-of-the-box innovative thinkers and a friendly, generous population. Founders of these new representations include, examples of these new representations include people like John Ilhan, who founded Crazy John's, a mobile phone retailer. At age 38, he became the richest Australian under 40, but he didn't keep all of his wealth for himself. Inspired by his daughter's extreme peanut allergy, he founded the Ilhan Food Allergy Foundation, through which he then made donations to many other allergy-focused charities. Another example would be Dave Warren, who invented the black box, a device which records the noises on a plane during a flight, and its purpose is so that if the plane crashes, we might be able to figure out why using the voice recordings on the box. People like John Ilhan and David Warren are among the people whose acts are helping bring Australia into a new identity. Explanation of my poster, which I have really sorry, but I've forgotten to scan. I'll have to send it to you later. I'm so sorry. I don't think teenagers think much about what Australian identity means today. They don't think about the fact that they can make a difference in the world. My poster is meant to make people aware of that fact and then inspire them to use their gifts for that purpose. As you can see, or you will see, my poster has 3 different parts: past, present and future. The past section is designed to make people think about why the Aussies of the past would do what they did. Why would they leave their homes in England to travel to an uninhabited island? They must have hoped for a better future. Why would soldiers be prepared to give their lives for their country? They obviously thought that Australia and its people had something worth dying for. The past section is supposed to make you think about what made it worth those risks. The present section is designed to make you think about what Australians are doing today that we can take inspiration from. People like Nick Marchese and Lucas Patchett, who set up a laundry service in their van for the homeless, can be role models for young Australians who are looking to make a difference in the world. The future section is designed to make people think about what they could do to help improve Australia's representation. Whatever your talent is, you can use it to help others, and by doing so, change the world. How do we change the world? One act of random kindness at a time. Thank you.